Your blonde bombshell here with you. And I bet you thought I wasn't going to be here. Well, honestly, I was on the fence because I'm not feeling my oats tonight. I don't know if you can tell it or not. I'm a little drained. I'm not going to be working out tonight, so sorry to disappoint the picture people that love me to take my pictures, but ain't happening tonight. However, in good news, this movie finally came that I ordered when I had my. This was my reward that I ordered myself. It's a cute movie, Mismatched. It's about a successful wedding planner who's trying to make dreams come true for brides organizing a fairy tale wedding. But when she's paired with a financial advisor at the wedding expo, she soon realizes that he is giving the exact opposite advice to the audience, telling them to save their money. When they are forced to spend a lot of time together, they find out that they have more in common than they think. And it stars Alexa Pinavega and Sean Roberts. And it's a really cute movie. So that's what I'm going to watch to reward myself when I get done with you guys. So let's do question and answer 33. And then I'm going to sing a song. And that's all I'm doing tonight. I'm not working out. But tomorrow night I'm going to make up for it, I promise. So, working out, that is. Let's do these first questions here. If you could establish one charitable organization, what would it be? Just one? I can think of at least two. I want to find a cure for PCOS so that the hormonal imbalances come to an end, so that these things that people don't understand and they can't relate to comes to an end. And when you say polycystic ovarian syndrome, they just don't go, oh, is that catching? They don't say something so stupid like, oh my gosh, why can't you lose your weight when you're trying so hard, and they don't have a damn clue about what your body's doing. So yeah, I guess that's one thing I would like to do. The second would be a lot of no-kill shelters, because just because, we have a pet population problem, I would love to see a lot of shelters be no-kill. I really would. And the third thing, of course, would be, it ties in with the second thing first. The second thing I would say also, don't shop, adopt, but Central Illinois Sheltie Rescue, because Kobe was a Sheltie. I want no animal to suffer, and I would love to see all that come to an end. Kids with cancer. I would love for cancer to be solved all the way for everybody, but especially for kids with cancer. That's something that I would love to see solved as well. And another thing would probably be Habitat for Humanity, more funding for that. But anyway, that's just some thoughts. I know I should have said one, but I have a lot. What do you think, or why do you think divorce is so prevalent? I think we have communication errors and issues. We have people when, you get emotional, instead of sitting there and going, okay, let's talk this out without screaming, without yelling. Let's be two rational, mature adults and let's hash this out. I think that's why divorce is so prevalent. And of course, there's always abuse too when it comes down to it, because some people don't want them to leave, and then, they're afraid when they do. And they're afraid if they don't. But let's move on. What do you think is needed to make the world a better place? It seems our listening skills are off all the way around. We can say one thing and it may be interpreted a whole nother way. Like by text message, for example. We can send a text message, but because there's no voice inflection, there's really no way for us to know how that's being received. You see what I'm saying? It's one of the best miscommunications in the modern communication era, if you will. I think if we did a little less technology and a little bit more human interaction, the world would be a better place. What advice can you give about how to conquer fear? I would say fear should not rule your life. Fear should not be most prevalent than anything else. And if you are facing anything with fear right now, I would say give it to God. God's got this. What advice can you give about how to relieve stress? Now this one, I can give great advice on because I always have a lot of stress. I worry about everything underneath the sun, and it's no joke. But I always like to do my adult coloring books, which helps me a lot, to also reading, which I'm reading this great book right now. And it's really wrapped me in. It's Linda Lau Miller's Always a Cowboy. And it is totally awesome. I would give you a small book review, but I'll save that for later once I finish it. Let's just say you got to find outlets to maneuver your stress, because if you don't, then it's overwhelming and then you just are never going to move on from stress. Why are some people cruel and unkind? Oh boy, I wish I knew the answer to that one. All my life I've struggled with my weight. It's part of polycystic ovarian syndrome. And, a lot of it, yes, is your diet, is what you eat. However, when your body is working against you in a hormonal imbalance, you don't always get the choice of your weight either. So, I wish I knew why people were cruel and unkind. I would love for that to be stopped and desist, and maybe we would have a better world. What is the difference between knowing a lot of facts about a person and knowing someone personally? That's a great question. I would say the difference between knowing a lot of facts about a person, that means your family, okay? You know them inside and out. There's no reason to doubt them. Just knowing someone personally is either a friend or acquaintance, maybe a co-worker, maybe somebody that you went to grade school but not junior high and high school. But they don't know the person now versus the person then. And they can't separate the two, so they only refer to you as that person that they knew. That's what I would say. Why do innocent people suffer? Again, I wish I knew the answer to that one. I think that, sometimes we are given struggles by God because He knows that we are strong enough to overcome them. And we have to really see deep inside ourselves in order to do that. So I would go with that. I would say, we're not giving something that we can't handle. So there you go. What is unconditional forgiveness? To me, that's when you're married and you love each other so much that Tom Jones could walk up and say, "You know what I heard about your wife?" And then that man is either a man and goes, "Maybe that was before I knew her. Maybe you just want to start trouble. And I really don't care." But he's man enough to turn and walk away because he's still in love with his wife. And that's unconditional forgiveness. Unconditional forgiveness is you can say the worst, do the worst about more or less rumors to me. And yet you are strong enough in your convictions and you know that person enough that you are like, not today, Satan, When is it better to be safe than sorry? To me, I'm scared of heights, so I don't want anything to do with an airplane. I don't want anything to do with skyscrapers. No, thank you. It's better to be safe than sorry. I'm down here on the earth. If I'm going to die, I'd like to die down here, not up there. Also can't swim, so I guess there's a fear of water, so it'd be better to be safe than sorry there. What's most intriguing about the Cinderella story child book? That's kind of a weird question. I used to be one of the biggest Cinderella people, always believing in fairy tales, always believing that, oh, you know what? You dropped your glass slipper, and yes, here comes Prince Charming now. He's going to put it on your foot, and wow, magically everything works out. They don't tell you what happens after the happily ever after, do they? So, while it's intriguing to know that, maybe a poor girl who has nothing, has a heart of gold, finally wins her Prince Charming. But then what happens after that? it intrigues us to get to the end to know that everything works out. She conquers the two ugly stepsisters and the stepmom, and her dad never gets to see her, happy and in love. But it's like we're going, really? She just put on a shoe and everything works out? What's the best approach for resolving conflict? Don't do it over the phone. Don't text it. Don't email it. You got to do it personally. And that would be the best way to resolve a conflict. That means face to face. Which is more important? What you say or how you say it, and explain your answer. Ooh, that's another one. I think it goes hand in hand. Because here's another one of these instances of miscommunication. You could send a text message, but it might offend somebody just because they read it and they think in their head how it sounds, but it's not how you meant it. So I think that our voice inflection really comes across, and it's, yes, sometimes how we say it, but it's more the inflection of the voice, of how you handle the message that you're saying versus being a typed message. What role does trust play in your everyday relationships? I would say I trust my friends to a point. I trust my family all the time, but never 110%. I'm so used to being let down. I'm so used to being hurt that I've learned there's no such thing as 110. And, this is a good one. With your future ahead of you and raising children, do you think it's best to discipline by giving timeouts, discussions, spankings, or a combination, and why? It all depends on the situation and what they did. I always like to be, when it's a kid involved, and knowing that I would be the mother figure, and it would be my role to discipline, I would say timeouts are for something minor, nothing major, because sometimes kids when they're younger, they would have a hard time to explain what they did. Discussions about what they did, absolutely. You got to make them see what's wrong and what's right. Spankings, I really don't like that, but sometimes it does call for that. And when does it call for that? I would say if they've taken something out of my room without asking, and it's something personal or private. Like, I have a diary in my room that was a gift to my mom, and I had her write down important moments and everything, so I would have it for the future. So if they would take that and maybe share it at school, and that would be too personal. There's some things you just don't do, and that would be that situation. In a combination situation, sometimes it does take both, just so they won't repeat the same offense. What's the best way to handle another person's hostility to ease tensions? I'm one of these, if you're mad at me, okay, that's the way it is. You're mad at me, good for you. And usually, unless it's family, I avoid conflicts, and I just be like, well, I wish it could have been different, but you know what? Good for you. What character trait are you currently trying to improve on or change? I would always say jumping to conclusions, because there's times when I shouldn't, and I do, and I know better, but I don't, and I don't know, that's something I really want to work on. Do you prefer exercising your mind or your body, and how frequently do you do either? Well, if you know exercising my body, even though I'm not a perfect 10, it's not a great workout by any means, but it's my exercise stationary bike and my weights. exercising my mind. I read, I work, I do housework, I do um, coloring, So it's like I try to do both. That's what I would say. Frequently, yes. How far in advance do you prefer to plan and why? Usually, I like to plan months in advance. I like to know, every detail. But this month has been one of the months that's going to be up in the air. I can already tell it. Because I'm still trying to plan that cookout, but I don't know what weekend in June. I know it's not going to be this first weekend in June, even though I'm off. But I don't really know what weekend yet we're looking at. So I keep telling y'all, stay tuned because we are doing a cookout. And as for the location, I think we decided that it's not going to be anything fancy, and it'll be right over here at the park a couple blocks away. So it'll be handy. If not, I'm sure I'll hear about it later after this video. Okay, who's your favorite talk show host? I put up with Dr. Phil, but my favorite talk show host, I like Steve Harvey. I think he's great. But I don't really have a favorite, because Dr. Oz isn't on TV anymore up here in the Midwest, and I loved him, but I miss him. But that would probably be my favorite. Okay, anyway, now I'm going to get off here, sing one song before I get to go brush teeth and watch my movie. Yay, I have an exciting Saturday night. So, anyway, stay tuned for the song. It's next.